Hey, welcome back once again, Knicks fans. Just wanted to recap tonight's game, the Knicks versus the Utah Jazz. And so I wanted to do this just a little differently today. As you guys know, I'm trying to follow a specific format, obviously. We're trying to figure out out of all the players, who played the most winning basketball. And we're trying to do that by analyzing certain parts of the stats. And we focus mostly on efficiency. We also focus on individual matchups, like how did you win your matchups against your guys? Did you outscore your guys number one? And were you also more efficient than the guy that you were guarding, number two? And so, however, I also wanted to add something else to it. I wanted to compare the way I'm evaluating these impact ratings by the way the league normally does it, right? I know the league has it has a rating called the PIE. I think that's like player impact efficiency, and it's actually pretty good. What this actually does, it adds up. It adds up basically all the. So it basically adds up field goals, free throws made, your points, the points that were scored. Adds up the rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and then it subtracts like turnovers. It subtracts the free throw attempts, subtracts field goal attempts, right? And also subtracts personal fouls. And then it divides all of it by basically uh, the same thing at the bottom, right? So basically, it divides all of it by adding up basically the team's total field goal made, uh, free throws made, total points scored, adds up the rebounds. I'm sorry, adds up defensive rebounds, and then it gives you, I think, 50% credit for each offensive rebounds, but it adds that as well. It adds basically the team's total assists, team's total steals, total blocks, and it subtracts turnovers, total personal fouls. It also subtracts free throw attempts, subtracts field goal attempts as well. And so, and obviously when you do that math, it gives you a ratio, right? So, and that's the PIE, and that's what the league normally uses to evaluate the impact individuals have on their team or even on a game. And so we're gonna do both. I calculated both, and so for me, like I said, the reason why I focus on the ones I focus on because those are the statistics that most determine the team's ability to win over the course of a season. I've never actually used a PIE to see if there's any relationship with like each individual person's PIE and the team's performance throughout the course of a season. That's something interesting that I'm going to do sometime down the line. But right now, I just haven't even tested any of that before. But right now, I just want to basically use my approach to basically see who had the biggest impact on this game, who was the most efficient, and then also want to basically use the PIE also to check how my rank compares to the PIE when I rank it. And so we're going to start by talking about some notable performances on the defensive end, and also some notable performances on the offensive end. And so today, the Knicks, struggled overall on the defensive end. This wasn't a very fast-paced game by the Utah Jazz. However, they were pretty efficient. They shot basically 46, almost 46% from the field today, and we just struggled on the defensive end. And the biggest issue was really Donovan Mitchell. I think he dropped something like 38 points on us today, and a lot of times, you know, RJ Barrett is the one who was on Donovan for the ball a lot of the times, right? I mean, he didn't guard Donovan Mitchell the whole game. There were some portions of the game that he was guarding someone else, but I want to say 70% of the time he was guarding Donovan Mitchell, and honestly, to be frank, he definitely cooked Donovan. Donovan Mitchell definitely cooked him throughout most of this game. There was a stretch in the fourth quarter when RJ was playing with the younger guys when they made that comeback. He actually did a better job defending Donovan Mitchell. He definitely picked it up. There was more energy, and he actually really buckled down. But hey, look, you know what? It's Donovan Mitchell. There's not very many people that can stop that guy. The first time RJ matched up against Donovan Mitchell this year, RJ really made Donovan Mitchell work. However, since then, RJ has been really working on being a guy. And one of the things that I notice is he's really slacked off on the defensive end, and he's been getting cooked by a lot of opponents. A lot of people he's been guarding has been cooking them. I mean, like on a regular. It's actually been so bad where his opponent field goal percentage has actually started edging up over the last, I want to say over the last month or so has been edging up. I think it's up to like, I think he might be above 44% now. For a lot of this year, he was around 42%, maybe 42.5%. But now he started edging up over the past month or so, and I think he might be around 44. That's how bad the defense has been, um, you know, or at least I should say how ineffective his defensive effort has been over the last, I want to say, month or so. So, but let's get back to the rest of the team. I mean, that was the biggest notable matchup we had to look out for. First time around, R.J. Barrett early in the year did an excellent job against Donovan Mitchell. This time around, Donovan Mitchell definitely came ready. Obviously, this is his hometown, so he wanted to put on a good show. Even after the game, he actually stayed around and signed a bunch of autographs. But anyway, back to these stats here. And so, Alec Burks, I mean, we really struggled. It's kind of like the same guys all the time usually where we have the biggest struggle. Alec Burks, basically defended seven shot attempts, allowed five, made field goals. Evan Fournier defended 10, allowed seven. Emmanuel quickly did pretty okay. I thought he did pretty well, especially in that late third quarter and early fourth quarter. I felt like he did a really excellent job against the what's that guy, a six man of the year from like Clarkson actually. And so Jericho Sims also did a pretty solid job. He allowed 50%, but it doesn't, sometimes this doesn't always tell the whole story. But the way I've been tabulating it, I'm trying to capture as much of the story as I can. And so I feel like this is actually better than the stats that they have on NBA.com, the way I tabulate these defensive stats. Julius Randle, the last few games, he honestly, sometimes I think, it's just kind of crazy. He doesn't run out of shooters. Today, he actually did a good job challenging three-point shooters, making a little extra effort to kind of try to get out there to challenge the shots. Not a great effort. He's not like everyone else who kind of hustles out there. But he did a little bit of a better job today. However, the last few games, Julius Randle, even though he hasn't been hustling, he just, it's maybe he understands who he needs to run out on and who he doesn't need to run out on. Maybe that's why what he's doing, but it's been effective. It has been effective the last few games. He's been holding the people. His matchups has been shooting very poorly against them. I want to say definitely the last three games. So, got to give him credit there. Miles McBride only challenged one shot, didn't make the shot. He only played about 2 minutes. Not much you can do there, but I do like how when he comes in, he does come in ready. He always plays hard, and he takes advantage, tries to take advantage of it as much as he can. Mitchell Robinson, 2 of 5, 40%, so pretty good. Obi Toppin, once again, he had a bad game. The last game, he didn't play very well on the defensive end, and also he kind of struggled on the offensive end too. But that's understandable. I think that last game he must have played like 8 minutes or something, so it's very difficult for this guy to get rhythm. Not trying to make excuses for him. It is what it is. But today he did show up. Overall for the season, I think he allowed something like 41% from the field. That's what opponents shoot against Obi Toppin. So he's been doing a pretty good job. Quentin Grimes, challenged 2 shots, allowed 2 attempts. Like I said again, this doesn't always tell the whole story. He actually did a pretty good job, especially with ball denial and stuff like that. And so I felt like he did a pretty decent job today. R.J. Barrett, like I said, we already talked about him. He kind of pretty much got torched by Donovan Mitchell, but it's all good. I mean, Donovan Mitchell does it to everyone. And so over here is basically offensive performances by our guys. Notable performances is Evan Fournier. This guy, he doesn't show up every game, but he's got moxie, man. He's never afraid. When he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. But when he has it, he's definitely never afraid. He definitely has a clutch. He feels like he's got a very good clutch gene, and not when he's passing the ball though, but shooting the ball, I feel like he's got a clutch gene. He hasn't gotten an opportunity to win a game for us yet, at least not that I remember. But I just like how he shows up sometimes. Like he just shows up just gunning, not afraid, and and it kind of shows. And he was 5 of 10 from three today, 6 of 13 overall. I like the way he plays. I mean, still not a very good defender, but I do like the fact that he's got a fighting spirit. Mitchell Robinson, 2 of 3 today. Kind of quiet day on the offensive end for him a little bit. Obi Toppin 3 of 6. Nothing, great either. A little on the quiet side, but he played well. Made the most of his opportunities. I think he only played like 13 minutes. And R.J. Barrett here, he shot 8 of 20, only 40% from the field. Sort of struggling with efficiency. A little bit. Of course, he played against Rudy Gobert today. He was able to get in the lane. It was just, Rudy Gobert and Whiteside wasn't there. So I mean, what can you do about that? This kid is 21. I really like you. We're focusing on offensive efficiency, but I really like how he's been finding his teammates. Here, I think he only had 3 assists today. But man, sometimes he has some pretty good assists. I don't know if these guys watch some of this stuff, watch a lot of these content providers on YouTube. Sometimes I feel like they do because I know one of the things, that's been kind of well, I know I've been talking about the fact that I feel like he needs to work on his rebounding a little bit because he shouldn't be letting like IQ out rebound him. I think that's a little, that's IQ and Burks have really improved their rebounding, and so it's a little crazy that he would let these guys like IQ and Burks like out rebound, especially when he's playing like 40 freaking minutes. So he did better with that. But on the offensive end, it was pretty okay for him. And it is what it is. We did lose this game. We lost the game by 15 points. I think it was 15 points, right? So let me see. Let's double check that. Let's double check this stuff right here. Just want to make sure. So I'm taking this here. How many points did we score? Oh, okay. We did score 93 points. A lot of this stuff, there's a lot of manual inputs that I do here. And so, yep, we lost by 15 points. And so sometimes I just, have to double check. And I really wish I can, take my time on this stuff, on this analysis. However, I do this the night after the game. I usually work the next day in the morning, so I just kind of have to get through it, do it right away, because I can't do it the next day because I'm working during the day. So you guys bear with me. Sometimes I have to double check things sometimes. But yes, we did lose by 15 points. And here I just have some net productions here. So I'm basically, we lost by 15 points, but we're still trying to figure out who contributed. So who contributed to the loss, right? Why did we lose by 15 points, right? And that's pretty much what this does. This is kind of looking at the individual matchups. Alec Burks here, he was tied, he scored 10 points. The folks he was playing defense again scored 10 points, but they were more efficient than he was, and so in some ways that is obviously that is a little troublesome. But however, he did win the matchups in terms of point production. Well, he didn't win the matchup, but it was even. Evan Fournier lost his matchup by 2 points. He scored 17 points, so I'm assuming the opposing offensive players he guarded, they scored 19 points against him. Emmanuel quickly, this guy has been like, he's been really on it lately. It's like he's really picked it up. He's been the last 2 games. It seems like he's been one of the impact players for us. The last game, he had the biggest impact on the team. When I did the analysis using my method, basically focusing mostly on the efficiency, and then I did a sort looking at the efficiency, and then also looked at the impact, basically who contributed to most to that 3-point win in terms of points, winning the matchups, and then adding the defensive rebound. He basically had the highest percentage. So he basically had the highest contribution towards that win yesterday. And it looks like this game, it might be kind of going towards that way too. 4 points. He basically won his matchup by 4 points, which was good. Jericho Sims basically lost his matchup. He didn't score any points, but the opposing offensive player scored 5 points against him. Julius Randle won his matchup by 3 points. Good defense. He scored 13 points. The people he was guarding scored 10 points. So it was good in terms of point production and rebound. And Julius Randle definitely put in the effort. But again, the problem with Julius Randle is always going to be with his efficiency. It really drags everything down, and you guys are going to see that later on. Everything starts getting ranked and sorted, you'll see how the efficiency impacts his contribution to the team. Miles McBride, he didn't win. He didn't get a lot. He only played like 2.5 minutes. At least, but in the 2.5 minutes, he didn't score, but he didn't let anyone score on him either. So that was a very good thing. Mitchell Robinson lost his matchups by 10 points. He scored only 4 points. So yeah, he only made 2 baskets. Scored 4 points only, and opposing offensive play scored 14 points against them. But however, I felt like he played a pretty good game in terms of still defending the basket and all that stuff. He's still, you guys know what he does. He cleans up a lot of mess for this team. Obi Toppin won his matchup by 6 points. This was the highest on the team. I mean, he only played maybe 13 minutes, took 6 shots, made 3 of them, scored 9 points. However, is on a defensive end. He challenged 7 shots, and the 7 shots he challenged, he only allowed 1 field goal. He really hustled, got out there at 3-point line to challenge these shots quite a bit. So he did a really good job. Quentin Grimes lost his battle by 4 points. And with Quentin Grimes, it's just, he's just trying to get back in the swing of things. And so that's really the issue for him. He did... he challenged only 2 shots, and he challenged 2 shots, and they made both shots on him. However, it doesn't tell the whole story, but it is what it is. He didn't score at all. He didn't make a shot, and hit the people he defended. Against that person made 2 shots against him. The 2 attempts they made was successful. R.J. Barrett lost, although he dropped 24 points. He did lose his matchup by 7 points, so basically he gave up 31 points. And RJ really been talking about being a 2-way player early in the year. I felt like, early in the year, kind of like, it was okay, but you needed to see more. And then I felt like, as the season went along, up until maybe before the All-Star break, RJ Barrett was playing excellent defense. He was playing really good defense. And then after the All-Star break, when it was just kind of, he started taking over as the man, it's like the defense just kind of starting to go south. Funny enough, same thing happened last year. So I'm not even sure if it's because he's taking over as the man, or if it's just like something more to do with towards the end of the season, he's getting really tired. The coaches actually has even started playing him even more minutes. I mean, I've noticed the last few games, the coach has been playing like 40 plus minutes. So that could be the reason why. However, it is what it is. It's just, this is what the stats shows, right? He's been giving up. He's been losing his battles, his matchups. He has been losing the matchups. And today he was minus 7 points. And also with the efficiency, he was 7% less efficient than the people he went up against. And so you don't really want to see this. You don't want to basically lose the matchup. And then also have and be less efficient than the people you were matched up against. You look at here, Jericho Sims. He didn't score. I think he was like 0-1 or something like that, and then allow 50% shooting on the other side. But that's not too bad. He did pretty well. This one wasn't very good because he did a really bad job on the defense. This year was also not that great either. Although the matchup was even for Alec Burks, however, he was 38% less efficient, than the people he was guarding. So the people he was guarding were 38% more efficient than he was. And so, guys, this is, this kind of tells the whole story for this team, right? Efficiency is a huge problem for this team. So you have number one, you got to win those matchups, and number two, you got to be more efficient. And a lot of times we get at some of these games where it'll be RJ Barrett and Julius Randle may win the matchups in terms of points scored, but in terms of efficiency, they're like, double digit worse, right? It's like the opposing team, the opposing players they were matched up against were like 14, sometimes 15 to 20% more efficient. And you look at it here. Um, no, actually, Julius was good. RJ Barrett was 7%, so it wasn't too bad. Then again, it was Donovan Mitchell, but that's the issue we have. Not only do we struggle with our matchups, but we're very inefficient even when we do win those matchups. So that's an issue. And so over here, we're looking at the defensive rebounds over here, and which is basically the defensive rebounds is extremely important in a basketball game, especially on the defensive end. That's the way you close out a possession. That's why there's a strong relationship between the amount of defensive rebounds the team gets and their win percentage. So like I said before, I'm going to say it again. It's field goal percentage, opponent field goal percentage, defensive rebound. Those are the three, and that's why the metrics that I'm using to compile these ranks, those are the three that I focus on. Your field goal percentage, opponent field goal percentage, defensive rebound. And so when we go look at here, Julius, he's a beast. He always leads the team. 29.6% of he accounted for almost 30% of our defensive rebounds. Next person was RJ Barrett. He really picked it up. I'm really happy to see this. He was almost at 19%. Next up was Emmanuel Quickly at 15%. My bad. Alec Burks was 18, almost 19%. So he was tied with RJ Barrett. And so kudos to Alec Burks. He's really picked it up, like I said, the last few months with the rebounding. Evan Fournier, I don't know what's up with this guy. It's unbelievable. Look, I mean, he's got a fight at Moxie, but he's got to do something about this. This is the second game in a row. He did not have. Did he have a rebound? Second game in a row, he didn't have one rebound. He had 0 rebounds 2 games in a row. I mean, like, he's not that small of a dude. And so somebody really needs to talk to him about it. McBride, no rebounds, but he played 2 minutes, so it is what it is. Obi Toppin, okay, this here, not good. He played 13 minutes and didn't get a rebound. He can't do that. As much as I like his game, the way he plays and his efficiency, you can't go through a game and not get a rebound, especially at the power forward position, and you played 13 minutes. That just can't happen. And I think a lot of that, too, he was trying to probably get easy baskets, so he was leaking out quite a bit. And so that's probably one of the reasons why he didn't get any rebounds this game. And Quentin Grimes, almost 4%. So, and it is what it is. And so this net production here, we're just trying to see basically who accounted for basically this 15% loss, right? I mean, this 15-point loss. And so we're, it's showing Mitchell Robinson. So what it does here is, it's just basically taking a percentage. So it's looking at this 15-point loss and it's trying to see what percentage did each individual contribute towards this 15-point loss, right? And so obviously it's negative, and so if it's negative, that means you lost your matchup. If it's positive means you won your matchup, and so it tells you some, what your positive contribution was. And so that's pretty much what this is. And then the percentage impact it's combining. It's basically taking an average of the defensive rebound and net production here, point production, and that's what I use to try to see who had the biggest impact in this game. And so so that's what I use. I'm just trying to check something out. Sum is 0. Huh. When you add all of this up, what happens? Okay, 0. So yeah, that makes sense. So basically, we're taking the average of the percentage defensive rebound and the percentage of net production by each individual, and so we've done that, and so now we can do a rank right now. We can do a quick rank to see, um, you know, uh, who did what, right? And so let's see if we can do a sort data sort. Can we want to sort by AN? Oops, I sorted the wrong way. I want to do largest to smallest. So let's do it the other way so we can focus on the positives, right? Um, Largest to smallest AN. And so, okay. And so if you look here, this here looks at basically, yep. And so Julius Randle, according to the way I evaluate it, Julius Randle is an elite, and one of the biggest reason for that is because number one, his defensive rebound. He accounted for 30% of the team's defensive rebound, so that's a big deal. And number two, he actually won his matchup. He won his matchup by 3 points, and that was 20% um, of the of basically the 15 points we lost by. At least that's basically what he contributed in terms of like point production towards the team. And so when I take the average of both, it's 24.8, which is really good, right? And the next person was Emmanuel Quickly. He was at 21%. Next person is Obi Toppy at 20%. And next person was Alec Burke. He was at 9.3%. Alec Burke was at 9. Well, mostly because of the defensive rebound. He didn't basically drag us down with his matchup because it was even. McBride was basically even at 0. He didn't get any rebound. Didn't get any. There wasn't any. He didn't lose his matchup or he didn't win it either. So both was 0. So he's at 0, and so that's pretty interesting. And then and so the rest of these guys, it was just it is what it is. It's like, let's see, Fournier, he lost the matchup, number one, and then number two, he didn't have any rebounds, and so so that is why he's -6. Jericho Sims, he lost his matchup, and also he didn't. He basically lost his matchup. Defensive rebound was 11%, but he lost his matchup by 5 points. It was a pretty decent amount. And next person was Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes didn't score and lost his matchup, so that's why. R.J. Barrett lost his matchup by 7 points, and so that's why he's on this list. Mitch Robinson also lost his matchup by 10 points, unfortunately. And then on top of that, he doesn't, average a ton of defensive rebounds, Mitch Robinson. Let's see how many rebounds he got. Mitchell Robinson had a total of 3 rebounds, 1 defensive. Whew. Wow. Okay, so he just didn't even show up. Well, it is Rudy Gobert. But yeah, it is what it is. And so he is showing that statistically he had the least impact on this game. If you're talking about in terms of the point production, number one, and then of course adding in the defensive rebounds, right? Of course, the other thing is like trying to add in the efficiency, right? My problem is like this gets really skewed because it doesn't factor in. It factors in the defense, but it doesn't factor in how efficient the player is. So that's the issue with my impact, and that's why I normally do the NPE here. So we can basically see what each person did on the individual level with their matchups in terms of efficiency. But I'm trying to find a way to combine both of them. And so what I did was like, why try to reinvent the wheel? Why not just use what we already have out there? PIE is a way to basically to rank. PIE is an excellent way to look at each player's contribution towards their team or towards a basketball game. And that's player impact efficiency, I think. And so, and if we look at it, I could try to look at it to see how it compares to what I have here. And if you see, it's not really the same, right? Right off the back, we noticed the top person here, the highest PIE was Emmanuel Quickly, which kind of makes sense, right? If you combine his defensive effort, because he won his matchups, right? Although he wasn't as efficient as the people against his, he wasn't as efficient as his matchup was, but he did win. And then also it factors in everything else from like steals to it does factor in blocks, like rebounding, whatever you contributed towards this win. It basically takes the stats, the box score, the traditional box score, and adds all those stats, the stats that you contributed to the game. It adds it all up, and then whatever mistakes you made, like the turnovers, the personal fouls, it subtracts it, and then also basically it adds in all the made field goals, and then it subtracts your attempts, right? And so that's pretty much what it does, and it's actually a very good way because it adds the made field goals and then subtract the attempts. It's factoring in the efficiency at that point. And so once you do that, you notice right off the back where's Julius Randle. He was originally first according to my when I use my method, but when you use the traditional PIE, he's basically he kind of gets batted down to so Emmanuel Quickly was first. Second was R.J. Barrett. That makes sense, right? Third was Alec Burks. Fourth was Mitchell Robinson. Fifth, tied for fifth place was Julius Randle and Obi Toppins, right? And so yeah, that's pretty much what you have when you basically when you try to include the efficiency. So this is just looking at the efficiency alone, right? And so that's what is looking at here. And you notice how it changes when you basically factor in like how efficient the player is, which I've been like really struggling to find a way to do until it just kind of hit me like, why aren't you just looking at like what we already have out there? Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? And that worked. But then the other thing I wanted to do as well, I wanted to like, okay, the PIE is just looking at basically the contribution to your contribution to this game, and then it includes the factors in the efficiency. How efficient were you? So it's not like if you dropped 46 points, but you basically took 60 shots to get the 46 points. That's very inefficient, right? And so your PIE may not be as high as it should be as a result of that. So it does that. But the other thing it doesn't factor in your matchups, right? How well did you do against your matchup? And so that's what I did here. So I basically factored in your defensive performance with the PIE, and essentially all I did was I started adding these plus minuses that they contributed to the win or losses. Like you said, Julius Randle basically won his matchup by 3 points. I made sure that gets added. Gets added to this because if you notice here, his PIE was 10%, and because he won the matchup and I added that 3 points that he won the matchup, he basically bumped him up to 15%, right? And so that's basically what's happening here. And this is what I think I would like to start using going forward. So I may have to. I think it's good to look at all of them, right? But I think the ones I'm gonna really start placing them a heavier stock on this one here because it factors in all your contribution to the game, right? And then it also factors in and then this one factors in your defensive efforts as well. Basically, how well you did against your matchups. And so when we do that over here, let's resort this here. Okay, let's resort it. We want to sort by AQ, data, sort. We want largest to smallest, and we want AQ. And what do we have here? So Emmanuel Quickly still was on top. But look, once you factor in defensive, your matchups, how well you did against your matchups. Obi Toppins is number 2. Julius Randle is number 3. Alec Burks is number 4. R.J. Barrett is number 5. Fournier is number 6. McBride is 7th at 0. And, these really start to make a lot of sense. This PIE, especially once I factor in the net production here, how well everyone is doing against their matchups, how they perform in their matchups, this makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a ton of sense to me, right? And so the last 2 games, as you see here, Emmanuel Quickly has been the top dog the last couple of games. He's had that biggest impact on the game, and it shows. It shows when you're watching a game. And obviously, we probably could have done a little better. It would have been a closer game if the coach did not take Emmanuel Quickly out and take out all the young guys out of that game. If he would have kept them in, I think, not saying we would have won the game, but it would have been better. And it was mostly because Emmanuel Quickly was taken out of the game, and this shows, right? And then Obi Toppin, same thing for Obi Toppin. He did a great job today. And, didn't get a ton of minutes, but he did what he was supposed to do when he was out there. He played good defense and got some easy baskets for the team, right? And so, guys, this is what I pretty much have, man. Let me know what you think. Who you guys thought had the biggest impact on this game? Please like, subscribe, comment below. I'll be more than happy to respond. Thank you so much. Have a good night.